Bible stories using household implements. This is the last story of Holy Week. This is the story that we now call Easter Sunday. So happy Easter! Today is the day when we remember Jesus' resurrection, and we're going to find out a bit more about that. But the resurrection brings hope, the possibility of new beginnings, new life and new opportunities, and teaches us that God's love is greater even than death itself, which is a really difficult thing to understand. And to try and understand it a bit, we can read the Bible, and the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, all have accounts of the resurrection. The Gospel according to Mark ends here. It ends with the tomb and suspends the story and invites people to go out and find their own experience of Jesus' resurrection, their own experience of where they can encounter Jesus. But today we're going to look at the story in Matthew. We're going to continue the stories until we get to the end of what we call Easter Sunday, when the news is being spread far and wide. Early on in the dawn, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to the tomb. They went to the tomb because they were sad that their friend had died. They were sad that their friend had been crucified, and they wanted to go and show their respect, to say thank you for his life. And they went to the tomb, and the guards were still there. The guards were there to make sure that nobody got to the tomb and nothing could happen to the body. The story says that suddenly an earthquake happened, and the soldiers were so surprised they fell down as if they were sleeping, as if like they'd been struck dead, and an angel came and sat. And the angel spoke to the Marys, who, as you can imagine, were quite afraid. And the angel knocked away the stone from the tomb and said, "Do not be afraid." Well, I think if it were me, I would have been extremely afraid. But angels often say that to people. They often say, we read in the story of Christmas, "Do not be afraid." She spoke to them and said, "Do not be afraid. He is not here. Jesus, who was crucified, is now risen. He is alive again. He's been raised from the dead. And he's gone ahead of you, and he wants you to go to Galilee and to tell all of Jesus' followers that he has gone ahead of you and he will see you again." Now that seemed completely impossible to both the Marys, but this angel was really convincing, and she blessed them as they went on their way and said, "Go and tell the disciples what has happened." As you can imagine, that was just amazing. But they did as they were told. They began to run away and to tell the followers of Jesus what had happened. And as they were running away, who should appear to them but Jesus? And there was no mistaking it was Jesus. They realised that the person that appeared to them was Jesus. And they knelt down next to Jesus and they worshipped him, giving thanks that he was alive. They couldn't explain it, but they gave thanks. And Jesus said to them, "Go and tell all my friends to meet me in Galilee, and I will appear to them too, and each one of them will experience me in a new and risen and hope-filled way." Jesus then went away, and the women ran to tell their friends. And in the coming days, their friends encountered Jesus in new ways again. Jesus appeared to his followers in ways that they were amazed by. And even Peter, who denied Jesus the 3 times, had the possibility to speak to Jesus and for Jesus to tell him that he forgave him. And he asked him 3 times to go out and continue to share the love that Jesus had shared with him. Once the guards had recovered, they realised they had to do something about all of this. And so they went to the temple authorities. And they told the temple authorities exactly what had happened. Now, you can imagine the temple authorities were A, surprised, B, quite angry, and C, incredibly confused and didn't really know what to do. But one of the things that often when people in power get confused by things, they try and buy their way out of it. So this is what they did. They gave the guards and all of those that had heard the story some money and told them to say that in the night the disciples had come and stolen Jesus' body out of the tomb, and that's why it was gone, and there wasn't anything special about it, and that is the end of the story. The soldiers agreed, and that was the story that was shared by the people who weren't the followers of Jesus, who didn't experience Jesus in a new and risen way after his death, and are not the people who then, when we have 50 days time, we have to wait for 50 days till we have something called Pentecost. And at Pentecost, the disciples will receive the Holy Spirit and go out and share the story of Easter and the story of Jesus' life and the story of all the things that happened that we call the Old Testament, that has taken us to a place where we share the love of God with the world through stories and through experiences of people. So that's the story of Jesus' resurrection, and today is a day of joy. It's a day of strangeness too, because many of us are not able to see our families and we're not able to go to church and celebrate as we would normally. But there's an awful lot of good stuff online, and there's a lot of things that we can do that bring hope and possibility and blessing to others on this Easter day. So have a think yourself and see if there's one thing you can do that will bless others and show the love of God as shown to us through the stories of Jesus. Happy Easter.